Huge thank you to Ridge Wallet for sponsoring this video. What's going on, everyone? Grunge Gaming back here. In today's video, I'm going to be going over some huge tips to help you get better at Apex Legends. These are things that new players, returning players, or even concurrent players can learn something new from. Even the pros practice the basics. Most of this video will be common sense, but it's always good to hear it over and over just to make sure the knowledge sticks with you. If you are looking to level up faster or get better settings in this game, I have separate videos for those down in the description below. For this video alone, I will be focusing mainly on the strategies for Apex Legends, the Battle Royale itself, with all its mechanics and moving parts. With that being said, let's get right into the video. In Apex Legends, there is a tool for players to gain the advantage on their opponents. This tool is the long forgotten Replicator. You may know it, you may not. It's kind of just in the background, as many players forget they even existed in the first place. Most players could care less about the replicators in Apex Legends. Usually, most players, everyone wants to just get eliminations. They have other priorities than to stop and be held up with the crafting system. The Replicator, in my opinion, is something very slept on, and a lot of players don't take advantage of it. There also are times when to not use replicators, but I'll get to that in a second. Replicators are very important, especially when you land in. They can provide you with medkits, shield bats, backpacks, item attachments, and a bunch of other things that are usually hard to find in Apex Legends. You can get right there on the spot, and all you have to wait is a couple seconds. This is usually pretty good, but as the game of Apex Legends is usually fast-paced, not so much in the combat portion, but in just trying to find people, especially as their maps that they keep adding get bigger and bigger. These are usually slept upon, as just people are trying to go out and find other players to get into fights with and not really looking to be stopped or slowed in the game. The main negative of a replicator and its most primary use is shield leveling. Most of the time you level your shield up by getting damage on other players, but there is also another way to do so. In the replicator, you will find an option for it to take your shield for a couple seconds, and it will take it into the replicator and put 100 damage on the Evo shield for you. That way you don't have to. The problem with doing this is many times if an enemy finds you while you are doing this, you will often be very much screwed in that position, as you are without a shield and you cannot cancel the crafting on a replicator, so your shield will be stuck in there for the duration of the crafting time. Just make sure to be cautious when using replicators. Moving on to the next tip, in Apex Legends there are always numerous reasons that you can end up without a teammate, whether that is connection problems, your teammates leaving after being knocked, or you do decide to solo queue if that is your thing. When being solo or a teammate down, you always have to be careful which fights you pick and engage in. The best advice when you are a solo player is just to stay out of most fights. If there is a 3-man team and you see it, definitely avoid fights like that. If they get into a fight with another squad, then definitely push and see if you can clean up or knock a couple people. Usually the best case scenario is get something a little bit mid-range and you'll be able to do some damage. You can also aid the two teams as they fight. If it looks like one team has the advantage over another, usually you shoot at the team that looks like it has the advantage. That way when you push in, that way both teams will be moderately weak. When in Apex Legends, always look for upgrades for your weapons or even upgrades to your weapons. Always be on the lookout for attachments for your weapons. Seriously, attachments are pretty underrated in this game. Many people don't know even what they do. With finding upgrades to your weapons, be on the lookout for care package weapons. Those are always usually the better weapon for you if you are going for more damage, anything like that. And sometimes some weapons are just meta than others. Some weapons do extremely better than others, so definitely use some weapons if you know that they are extremely good in the game currently. Having better weapons than your opponents is never a bad thing. Usually it could be a turning factor in a fight. The next tip is for newer players. If you are a new player and you don't have all the legends unlocked, it is definitely good to try out the legends that come out for free with the game. Most of the locked legends are based off of legends that are free to play when you first get the game. With this being said, definitely do your research on which legend would best suit you. I know a lot of people really like the legends that came out with the game anyhow, and they still play those. Other people prefer to play a legend built off of another. For me, it's Valk, and I started off as a Pathfinder main, but then I went to Valk because I liked more of the mobility in the air, and that's where that came from. So definitely do your research on which legend you should buy when you grind Apex Legends and get enough legend tokens. Definitely try all of them to see which legend fits you best. It doesn't matter if the legend is good or bad, but whichever one fits you and your playing style, and if you can utilize the legend's abilities, it will probably be the best legend you can be for you as a player to really succeed in the game. To make your Apex Legends experience better, it's never a bad idea to warm up. Most people always hop into a couple matches to warm up. Usually they get, just completely steamrolled and then eventually make some progress. A better way to make your experience just a little bit better is to go into the firing range and maybe test it out on some of the dummies. Or what you can do is go into arenas, a game where you can constantly respawn, and use that game mode to get some target practice, movement, and just warm up in general. I find the more and more I just continue to lose in Apex Legends, the less it gets fun. So sometimes the warm up can be the most boringest part if you're trying to do it in the actual Battle Royale game mode. If you warm up on a game mode like Arenas, the somewhat respawn factor will help you out, which basically means once you die, the game isn't over. You get a couple chances to play the game. What is also nice about Arenas is if you warm up in the Battle Royale and then immediately get steamrolled, right, you lost all your progress, you landed, you spent 10 minutes just to collect all your stuff, and then you immediately got downed. In Arenas, it's pretty nice because you don't have to go scavenge for a bunch of stuff. They already give you the stuff you need to fight, so pretty much all that you need to do is just take out opponents. With Apex Legends being a battle royale, always know your map rotations. This can always be a little bit difficult no matter which map you are on. Always look to get the high ground when going in for ring. Always make sure that you always look behind you. You're listening for footsteps, etc., etc. Always look for, of course, signs of movement or people that have passed through there recently. This can be done by having a legend that can see footprints like Bloodhound, or this can be done just by seeing if there are any open chests, death boxes, or any other things that could have been left over from an initial fight. Especially when rotating and engaging, which is a huge part of Apex Legends, always make sure you listen out for gunshots. Especially hearing any signs of a battle is usually a good signal for you, just to make sure that you know what you're doing. Are you going to stay out of the fight? Are you going to engage? And matters like that. Losing in Apex Legends, of course, is no fun, but when it does happen, you always have to think back if you could have done anything differently. Apex is definitely a game where you can learn from your strategic mistakes in the game itself, whether you should have taken the high ground or not, whether you should have pushed that team or not, whether you were in a bad place to do so, just things like that. Always judge the situation when going in to an engagement as well. Definitely judge the situation before and after to make sure you learn from your mistakes or learn from your success. The next thing I'll be covering is Apex Legends isn't a pay-to-win game as some would speculate, yet Apex Legends does have pay-to-win iron sight skins that you can purchase from the store from time to time. It really isn't a huge deal, although the iron sights are really neat to have. At the end of the day, it really only revolves around making sure your aim is good, practicing consistently, everything like that. And you shouldn't have to be spending your money on pay-to-win skins. That money would be better off staying in your wallet, which is where today's sponsor comes in. A big thank you again to Ridge Wallet for sponsoring this video. In my opinion, Ridge Wallet is the best quality you can get. I've been using a Ridge Wallet for some time now and it has just worked great. My favorite part about the wallet personally is it can fit right into your pocket. All of the designs that Ridge has to offer look great. They have over 30 designs to choose from. And right now, if you use code GRUNGER at checkout or use the link in the description, you will get an additional 10% off your purchase. Again, big thank you to Ridge for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it. Apex Legends could be compared to as a race. If you get a good start, you will be successful, and that is exactly what you need to do in Apex. Deciding where you land really decides the fate of the map. If you land in the wrong spot, which is a gamble, most of the time, because you never really know where the first ring location will spawn. Once the first ring does spawn though, then you can somewhat accurately predict where the ring is going to close from there. Going off of that, deciding where you land will definitely determine the fate of your game. Whether you are going for eliminations, whether you're going for damage, and just whether you are trying to have a good match in general. Do you really want to be stuck out in the ring the entire time, or would you rather be doing combat, right? Running in the game is sometimes fun, but if you're always constantly running and you're really never playing Apex Legends for what it was supposed to be, and that is a PvP game and not a Sonic game. It is in most people's best interest to land somewhere around the center of the map. That way you always don't have to be sprinting across the map just to get into the ring. If you are in a central location, the first ring will usually spawn with you already in it. The second part of landing is definitely loot. A lot of people like to go hot drop, and you do have better chances of getting more things, but you also have a higher chance of being eliminated from the start, as many people will go there wanting to get exactly what you are trying to get, and that is usually gold weapons and good armor. The problem with this is if an enemy team gets it before you do, and this is what usually happens when most people do hot drops, and even when this does happen, most people end up surviving. They just run to other places to get weapons, and then the problem with this is it takes more time off from the game. Always make sure you're being very conscientious about where you land, especially if there is a high tier loot place. Definitely watch from the end of the dropship and see how many people go to certain places. It all depends whether you like landing with places that automatically set you up to have a good game. Usually those places can be packed, or you could land a place where no one usually lands. Usually watching from the back of the dropship and watching everyone else drop out is sometimes a risk, because if everyone goes to literally every place, then when you land there won't be any loot. But sometimes it is good to gauge how many people went where. One, if you are trying to get eliminations, or if you are just trying to have a good match and you want to see where everyone else landed. That is always a super good idea, especially when playing in ranked and for scouting out good landing spots in the current match. And with all that being said, I know I didn't go over every single tip I could have gone over, but these are pretty much just the common sense tips I had to offer before the new season. I really did try to make kind of a new style of video. I always like doing guides no matter what the video is. A big thank you to my subscribers and channel members. This was a monster of a video to make, so if you want to see more content like this and you're not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. With all that being said, I will see you guys all around later. Bye guys.